Hi everyone, I'm Shelly and you're watching There's No Place Like Home. I'm back with another video and today's topic is hailstones, hiding in caves, and a sea of blood. I decided to do this video today because I have gotten a few comments in the last few weeks questioning me about certain events that are described in the book of Revelation, and I'm sure you've guessed now that these are events that describe hailstones and people hiding in caves and seas of blood. And people have basically said to me, okay, well, if all of this stuff has happened, did this ever happen? Did people ever hide in caves? Was there ever a sea of blood? Were there ever huge hailstones raining down? Well, we're going to talk about that today. And I'm going to be using some excerpts from the book The Return of Christ, Why Are We Still Waiting? Simply because they have a neat, handy chart in the middle of this book that actually has a comparison of the book of Revelation and verses from there next to historical accounts of Josephus, who was a survivor of the destruction of Jerusalem. He was a Jewish historian. So this video shouldn't be too long, but I highly encourage you to check out this book, The Return of Christ, Why Are We Still Waiting? Because it helps with so much. It's a really good, as someone else mentioned in another comment, it's a really good primer for those who are new to preterism and are trying to figure it all out. And I'll leave a link for it in the description box. But let's get started. Revelation 6, verses 15 and 16 says, "And the kings of the earth, the great men, the rich men, the commanders, the mighty men, every slave and every free man, hid themselves in the caves and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, Fall on us, and hide us from the face of him who sits on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb." Now we're going to read an account from Josephus, who I want to remind you was not a Christian. He was a Jewish historian. And in his book, Wars, this is from section 6.7.3. "So now the last hope which supported the tyrants and that crew of robbers who were with them was in the caves and caverns underground. They did not expect to be searched for, but endeavored that after the whole city should be destroyed and the Romans gone away, they might come out again and escape from them." So yes, there were people that hid in the caves and in the rocks of the mountains. Revelation 8:8. "Then the second angel sounded, and a third of the sea became blood." Also, Revelation 16:4. "Then the third angel poured out his bowl on the rivers and springs of water, and they became blood." Now for the account from Josephus, also from Wars 3.10.9. "And for such as were drowning in the sea, if they lifted their heads up above the water, they were either killed by darts or caught by the vessels. One might then see the lake all bloody and full of dead bodies, for not one of them escaped." Revelation 16:21. "And great hail from heaven fell upon men, each hailstone about the weight of a talent. Men blasphemed God because of the plague of the hail, since that plague was exceedingly great." The account from Josephus from Wars 5.6.3. "The engines, those that threw darts and those that threw stones, were more forcible and larger than the rest. Now the stones that were cast were of the weight of a talent. The blow they gave was no way to be sustained." So not only does this account say that there were stones being hurled from the sky, but that they weighed a talent, 1 talent, which is precisely what it said in Revelation 16:21. The other day I shared a video about the Great Tribulation and how it already happened. And in that video, I also shared the historical account by Josephus that perfectly matches what Jesus was talking about in Matthew 24 and I believe also Matthew 25. Additionally, I have been reading this book, The Destruction of Jerusalem by George Peter Holford, aloud on my channel. And let me just tell you that what I just read to you from Josephus is just a tiny, tiny fraction of the evidence in Josephus's writings, which the destruction of Jerusalem is based heavily on, that to me are confirmation, absolute confirmation that this was that time period. It matches perfectly, and I cannot even describe to you the enormity of the event. Even though I knew that it was really, really terrible at that time period, reading through this book on my channel has really just, it has helped me realize so much more that this was just a terrifying, terrible, grotesque, and just absolutely frightening event to go through. And I don't think that people, since most people aren't taught about the destruction of Jerusalem, they don't know. They're still looking for a future event of a time period worse than any others, but they don't understand that that is exactly what this time period was, in my opinion. You can get the book by Josephus himself, Flavius Josephus, The Wars of the Jews. And this is something that I hope to get at some point. All of the excerpts that I read are usually from other books or are just online, but I do have this one in my Amazon cart. You can see I have other things in my Amazon cart too. But yeah, so I highly encourage you. I'll leave a link to this in the description box and a link to the destruction of Jerusalem for you to read this for yourself, because me telling you on YouTube isn't going to get through to you, in my opinion, as much as you reading these words for yourself, coming from an eyewitness. This is an eyewitness account from someone, again, he had no agenda for the Christians. He was not a Christian. He was a Jewish historian. He was writing what he saw. And it is absolutely amazing to see not only the book of Revelation, but Bible prophecy being recounted in a secular historical account in quote in real time. But really that's all that I wanted to share with you today, because people have been asking me all the time about these events, saying, well, this never happened. Well, yes, it did. You can't just assume that something never happened because you didn't live through it or because you didn't learn about it in school. As you can tell, this is something that most people have not learned about in school. It doesn't mean that it didn't happen. So instead of just jumping right in and saying, oh, well, we're still waiting for this to happen, just because you don't know doesn't mean that it did not. I encourage you to check out these books that I mentioned today. Read it for yourself right next to the Bible. You will never be the same again. That's all that I have for you today. Told you it was going to be a short one. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed and would like to hear more of what I have to say, I would love if you would do that. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave one down below. And if you like my work and would like to become a channel member, I will leave a link in the description box for that as well. Or you can just click on it right on my channel page. And I hope you have a great day.